I could have $100 million and nobody would know who the hell I am. We shut down our business. That was a big decision. I was terrified. If I died today, I don't want it. There's no amount of learning that I could have where I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is the $1 Million Sellers Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Chiquette. Today, we have a very special guest on the show. I'm really stoked to sit down with him today. It's Shawn Cannon. Shawn, what is up, man? How have you been?
I'm good, man. What the heck's up with you?
Nice. Just another day in the office here, man. It's recording day, so I'm sitting down with you to do this podcast, man, and I'm excited because we don't get to chat very often. I know we're both very busy, man, doing stuff for the kids. So, Shawn, you've been in this Amazon game for a little bit. And, I want to dig into your story about like how you got started and, how you ended up where you are right now. I know you've recently moved and you've made some big changes in your life and have accomplished, quite a few things. And I've seen you go through, that period where you're heavily involved with arbitrage and, like reselling from Alibaba and stuff like that. And now you kind of transitioned to where you are now. So, why don't you just jump into like, what you've been up to recently, but also like, where did you get started into this e-commerce journey?
All right. So where I am now, I'm more into brand management. So I work with brands. We primarily like to focus on European countries. My niche is Canada. I'm not Canadian. I have a Canadian partner, but we're selling in Canada, and we do filter down to the United States. But I figure being a bigger fish in a smaller pond is a lot better than where we're at. So it's growing. It's growing entirely. It's definitely not where I started, but I've reached that point where what is an expert, right? But I've reached the point where I feel like I reasonably know a lot more how to establish value to somebody, especially particularly we're in that bootstrap phase where a lot of times companies, they think they know what people want, but they really don't know. They're almost like kind of pushing people into that stuff. And I always worked off that value proposition. Where we started was way back, like 2014, is when, so 7-8 years, almost pretty much the length of my relationship with Becky. It's really technically her business. We started it for her and moved from there. But how this got going, I was a financial advisor. I worked with, I specialized in retirement distribution, all that other good stuff, managed money. And Becky wasn't too happy with her job. And I was always like an extrovert. I never understood like corporate nonsense. And so she would tell me these stories like she was in a meeting and her hands were folded over like this because she was cold, and she got like a demerit somehow like they mentioned that in her review, and I'm like, what? Or she crossed her legs in the opposite direction of the person that was talking, and I'm like, what world is this even in? So I told her, I was like, go, let's start a business, and we were originally going to do a laundromat / bar, and we were going to call it Suds. You go in there, do your laundry, and then go get faced, and then go finish up your laundry or whatever. And through that process, she didn't know how to raise money, and at the time I didn't really know how to raise money, but I knew that I knew people, and that was a big thing. I always figured like if someone else does it, it's not impossible for me to do. I just got to figure out how to do it, and then really just get it done. So through that evolution, no wheels were really turning, for her with I told her to get a business plan, get all this stuff written up. And then I'm always looking to solve problems. I think that's probably, if I ever have any talent, superpower in life, it's solving problems. And so I was trying to solve this problem for her, which then inadvertently puts me in the middle of this problem. And I was thinking, okay, let's just get some type of business going anyways. And a former buddy of mine down in Florida had introduced me to this whole concept of Amazon. I had no idea what it was. He sent me, he sends me a link one day to this Death Star silicone mold, ice cube mold, to buy it for $1. okay, whatever, I'll buy it for $1. It's the stupidest thing in the world. Didn't work, and ice was everywhere. Like 2 weeks later, he's like, hey man, did you get that silicone thing? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, hey, can you give me a review? And I'm like, you a review? And then that's when he was breaking down all of FBA. At the time, for me, Amazon was literally just Amazon. I didn't understand that Amazon had third-party sellers and all that other stuff. I figured it was inventory with big businesses that Amazon had worked with, and that really had intrigued me. And I had,
what year was that, Shawn? What year was that?
I want to say 24. I think it's 2014.
2014. Okay.
I'm almost sure now. Like, it's weird because like that COVID year really. Yeah, the year that disappeared, a lot of times I'm like 2 years ago, I'm like, well, that was 2 years ago. And, it was the year that disappeared. But, but anyways, so that ball started getting rolling, and I was trying to, I was learning a little bit more about it. It wasn't really for me. It was originally to get something going for Becky and also getting something going for my mom. My mom was always just looking for like little additional income. She's fine with retirement, but she was, any little bit more could help for her, to keep her busy and all that other stuff. And to this day, she's still an Amazon seller. She's still up to see those arbitrage. So I started in the arbitrage. For those that don't know, that's where you just literally go into stores, buy things, and then flip it on Amazon. And that, to me,
and I think that's still one of the best ways to get in if you're at that stage in your life where you're like, you're ready to grind. You got a little bit of money and you got a little bit of personality and kind of, you got to have some secret sauce to go into these stores and scan stuff. And we're it's like, you got to be on a mission, so to say. But
you have to know. And I remember like there were guys that had like scanners attached to their like gloves. They had like built-in glove scanners. And to me, like, I was appreciative of the income, but I remember like one time I'm like pushing like this cart full of Hello Kitty like plateware, and I'm like, there's gotta be a better way, because I was a financial advisor. I can't imagine like my client turning the corner as I'm scanning like cat food in aisle 12. What are you doing, Shawn? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just trying to, I'll buy cat food. And it was always like this level of deceit, because it became like stores didn't want, it was always this thing. So I started gravitating towards, well, what can we do? And then that's when we were private labeling before I even knew that was like an actual thing. Because Becky had worked for this company that did merchandising, so they made tchotchke stuff for company. And I was like, well, let's go into that. So they looked at one of their hot sellers, and then we adopted that. And that was a waterproof Bluetooth speaker that we started with. And when we started, and this is like late 2014, maybe even early 2015 now, when you think about the economics of Amazon at that time versus now, we had bought, I think, 200 units. I don't think we spent even more than $2,000, and we had a $5,000 line of credit. And our first order got seized by customs. Right, because we had the name Bluetooth on it, and this is like something that would have killed a lot of people right then and there. They started something, they lost $1,200. You know what I mean? But to me, that was a problem that needed to be solved, right? So immediately I placed an order again. So I put up another like $2,000 or whatever it was. We eventually get it. We actually eventually get the old stuff too. I had to pretty much be my own lawyer, like working with customs and figuring all this out to get this inventory towards us. But we had an OEM container that had, China has no idea how to market, in terms of like making anything look pretty. So it had Chinese lettering, letters were backwards, all kinds of just ridiculousness. And we had picked out a logo, picked out a brand and all that other stuff. And we went to Office Max and we bought a circular sticker, and we slapped that right on top of the thing and sent it into Amazon, and all of them sold. Like,
nice.
All of them sold. And we turned around and we did it again, and we did it again. And it grew so quick. And this is before anybody knew how to order any, like to shipping, it's amazing what we know now. Then it was just like, get stuff on a plane and get it here. Like, what's a boat? What's cargo? What's a container? That was just like, that was big business stuff. That was just like a world that didn't even make sense. We were still getting stuff through the air. And well, we ran into a problem where we couldn't fix I couldn't fix what was going wrong with some of these units. So we changed the design, we changed the style, but the electronics of it at the end of the day, it wasn't jiving. So then from there, we went from we've done, man. We've probably done easily over 100 different types of products. Some Me Too, some creationary stuff, some that we've wholesaled to other individuals, toys, all kinds of just craziness. We ended up my thought process was every listing on Amazon to me was like a doorway, a way to get into Amazon. So I would rather, if I was going to sell 1,000 units in a month or a day or a week or whatever arbitrary number of this, I would rather have 1,000 listings that sold 1 unit than 1 listing that sold 1,000. Because I saw a lot of times the struggle that people had to, get their product to the first page of Amazon, and I just didn't want that. So we gravitated towards where things that had the most amount of skews, and we found that to be in cosmetics, and we found that to be in grocery. So we thrived in that environment. We built that business. In hindsight, I can't say I have regrets because it took me to where I'm at now, but I think I would have always just stuck with a brand rather than just going real hardcore wholesale, and whatnot, particularly because we built it out of our home. We had 4 employees at one point working out of our home. And I'd like to think I was a cool boss, I owned a bar, I had weed. I was here's the job, get it done.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to smoke something or drink something, who am I to stop you? At one point it was all women, and so there would be this needless drama, and I'd be all right, time out. We're all getting drinks, and then we'd just have a little retreat, and that was cool. And we just grow. You continue to grow through the ranks and learn more and more and more. And there's this point where you realize that you've given yourself a new job, right? Yeah. And then the question is, do you like what you do? And it was a real easy answer for me to say no. I didn't really enjoy. I wouldn't do it for free. So then I really started adopting the mentality. I did this really early on, but really started getting aggressive to it as we're starting to develop out our team. But I focused on 2 things that I'm great at, right? And things that I loved, and anything else in between, somebody else could do it. I don't take out the trash. I just don't. Maybe randomly, if it happens to be there and I'm walking towards the trash, I'll take it out then. I don't do the dishes. I don't do anything. I don't spend any time. I don't clean my own car, because somebody else can do it. Why would I? There's some weird pride that people have on knowing how to do basic thing. I don't know any of that.
Yeah, well, I think you bring up an interesting point. It's the difference between how an entrepreneurial community thinks versus a non-business savvy community thinks, right? There's all these things that there's these differences that are really they're big. There's a couple that are just big differences, the way that you see those things. No, I don't care about how to do everything. I don't care that I can't fix this door in the house or whatever. I don't want to know. I'm happier these days. I'm happier not knowing.
It's you have so much time in the day, and I've learned that being an entrepreneur isn't like a job; it's a lifestyle. I wake up an entrepreneur, I go to bed an entrepreneur, I wake up in the middle of the night an entrepreneur, I take a shit, and
it's not a 9 to 5.
It's you don't turn it off, and that's something that is so knowing that. You want to be able to make a life that's conducive around that. And so, I think what it comes down to is people are always trying to assert their value. And when you're in a circumstance where you don't have all this control and what's my worth, what's my value, okay, so for some guys, and I'm not getting any of this stuff, but maybe sports is more important to them because now they know everything about sports and that's how they assert their value. Maybe they can eat a 70-ounce, what do they call it? Some steak or something like that. And that's how they feel that, hey, this is my value, to the world. I enjoy having soft hands. I enjoy thinking with my mind. And I find that the goals that I have, the way that I live my life are in tune with the goals that I have for myself. And I find that I set higher goals. Now that wasn't the case, because the thing is, when you set like a goal, sometimes you're afraid to acknowledge what your goal really is, because you're not afraid that you can't do it. Well, maybe, but you're really afraid of is you're afraid of the perception of other people on, and so I have this little thing where it's like the secret to success is like, think of something that's baller that you're good at, set a good goal for it and tell people about it.
Yeah.
And if they think that it's just easy for you to do, reset that goal.
Yeah.
Set, change it, elevate it to a point where you get the naysayers and the sneers and like, oh, well, good luck and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you're on to something. Then go find the people that support you at that point. The people that align with you, believe in you, even have the resources to it, and then knock that shit out. And then do it all over again. So I've been finding that the relationships that I've had, the people that grow with me, like why we even still communicate is we're growing in the same direction. Maybe not on the same journey, but we're growing on this within the same path. And there's people that I've had in my life where I've, like, hey man, like the time served doesn't equal time ahead. Like that value to me is a check that needs to be cashed on a daily basis, like every day. Like I have to have value to you today. You have to have value to me today, tomorrow, the same thing. And at some point, if there's not a value proposition, we need to rethink the time that we're spending with each other. So yeah, I've let go. Like I think of all my college friends. I think of all the people that, I know them, I hang, but when we get together, I have nothing to share with them because I'll start talking about the things that I'm doing and the growth that we're having. And then it's an awkward conversation because they want to bitch about their boss. And I'm like, dude, I just knocked out some really impressive things, and that really came to fruition with our move. We moved to Puerto Rico in July, and how that is like for MDS, MDS, for all the good, for all the bad, it is definitely, it's changed my life. I mean, that's, it's not saying it could change anybody's life, but like the interactions and the relationships and the way that I leveraged the network that I had with MDS has been like paramount. How that even started was Alan Stevens was talking to me. We were talking about costs and marketing, and all that other stuff. And he wouldn't stop talking about this Palmas. And so then he sends me this video, and it's like the propaganda video, like this video, like, oh my God.
He's pretty good with his video editing skills. I've seen his stories.
He didn't make that one though. Okay. But yeah, he is otherwise like just very talented, even on the fly. Like he'll just make some little stuff, and he'll make like an average evening look like super baller. Just know what I mean? Like he'll pet an iguana and make that really entertaining somehow. Like here's Alan petting an iguana. But anyway, so that he initially planted the seed, and at the time I'm getting sick of winter. I'm in Wisconsin right now, and it's like probably like 12 degrees, and I'm not looking forward to going outside. And I remember just going to Becky, when she had woke up in the morning, and I was like, what do you think about like moving to Puerto Rico? And I just was assuming like, we can't do that, finances, business, all these other things. And maybe I just caught her at the right time. Yeah. And she's like, go, and then it was a matter of, okay, now we're going to move to Puerto Rico, but when, when are we going to do this? And so then more and more people from MDS started moving down to Palmas Del Mar. And I'm learning a little bit more, about that community. So I'm talking to Sanjay, right? And unrelated issues, some investment stuff. And so I didn't even know he was in Palmas. I'm like, you're in Palmas too? Like there's like 12 of you guys down in Palmas. And everyone kept saying how great this is. It's like this thriving community of entrepreneurs, and the community is wonderful. And I kept having excuses, COVID, this, business, that. And he pretty much told me, he was like, if you're not going to come, stop saying you're going to come. He didn't say it like that because he's a nice guy, but he pretty much told me to, get off the pot. Right.
Yeah.
So, and that disturbed me, cause it's awesome when friends can call you out. Yeah. You know what I mean? So right then and there, after that conversation, I bought 2 plane tickets, I figured my 42nd birthday was coming up. Went down, told Becky, hey, just so you know, we're going to Puerto Rico in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe, and just to check it out, get a lay of the land, hang out with people down there, see what's going on. And when we got down there on the second day, we fell in love and we rented a place. So then we came back home and we gave away our entire life. We shut down our business. That was a big decision to like shut down a profitable, because I couldn't take that to Puerto Rico with. But I also have a talent in the market. So there's, plus we're building out this brand management. So I knew that, hey, we could go down there, we could survive, and so we did. We shut down everything. We gave everything away. We started a brand new life. And I got to tell you, that was probably one of the most liberating experiences I've ever had in my life, where you the things that you think are important to you, when you're watching them being thrown away, you realize it's just garbage. Like it's just trash. So I found that my joy now is not in owning things, but in the like having experience, having memories. And I'm always trying to enrich, like those type of memories. And like, if I buy something, like Becky just bought a purse, and I told her, I'm like, hey, you can, get a purse, but you got to replace it, so now we got to get rid of something so that we don't really add to that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that. That's a good, because it's just so easy to like.
It's so easy to do.
Like, I've got 3 kids in the house, right? And it's like, you get a McDonald's and they throw a toy in there, and it's like every day you got a toy, and like they're just leaving them out there, and they got buckets and buckets, and parents just buy more buckets.
Every child has way too many toys.
Yeah,
they have and they use it for
that category on Amazon's crazy, man.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's more accessible. There's more variety, but either way, yeah. So Amazon, for me now, is still very relevant in my life, but it has gravitated more to commerce and just general, and like developing out networks and looking for opportunities and efficiencies. And what's awesome about MDS is like MDS used to just be really like an Amazon only type of environment, and now it's not. It's full on e-commerce, investments, real estate. I mean, there's so many people with so many different backgrounds that are doing so many amazing baller things coming together. And it's one of the better master at the time. Before I moved to Palmas, MDS was the absolute best mastermind I've ever been. Now that I'm in Palmas is 10 times, because there's billionaires in that space. But it's still, it reminds me of how MDS is still growing, and the barometer of where we're gonna reach. Because like right now the market, study the markets real closely, and like the market's taking a dump.
Yeah, Shawn, actually, for like everyone that's listening, Shawn is actually one of the most active people in the other MDS group, the investments group. And like, Shawn is really well known for doing in-depth chart analyses, and people will like tag you and post, hey Shawn, what do you think of this? Like give me some insight, and Shawn hops on. So I'd really say, because I've known you for a while, I've seen you go through the community. I see you active over there, like providing a lot of value, just like you have in these other communities that you've participated in.
I love that shit. You know what I mean? And I'm really good at it, and I love it. And so that goes back to the tenets of my existence, like do the things that make you great and do the things that And despite all the frustration that I could have in the market, you're gonna have frustrations in anything, whether it's anything, but at the end of the day, I do a lot. I do it for free. I do it for free for specific individuals, of those that in return have there's value reciprocal, at the end of the day, from various projects, investment opportunities, things like that. But the point where I was saying was like, MDS has reached, we're above the clouds, like the market could go to the stock market could just plummet to nothing. Sharks always swim. You know what I mean? Like sharks swim. I have a fervent belief that every time the earth resets, right, like some cataclysm happens, great reset, not just an economic reset, but like earth 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, it ain't the smartest that make it. It's not the hardest workers that make it. It's the problem solvers. It's the innovators, because like, let's say we're hanging out, the world ends, right? And I mean, it's just me, you, and our wives or whatever. And we're like, okay, I don't know how to make the internet. What's the internet? So we're gonna figure it out, right? We figure out a method of communication. Maybe we can, we still know some things, so maybe we get birds to do some things for or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, but it doesn't take much between, second, third, fourth generation before they even talk about the internet again. And then now whatever we started creates this whole new technological tree that goes off into be big things. So I think guys like me and you are the true survivors, when the shit hits the fan, like I always look at like how people respond to like emergencies. You know what I mean? And
right.
To me, I immediately like I trust my
rise to the occasion, like whatever it is.
Yeah, because I have a lot of I have engineering partners and stuff like that they won't go outside that bubble of their structure of how they actually see everything, and it's difficult to have those communications sometimes because it's like I'm like, let's just go for it. Like what happened? I'm like, I trust myself enough that when I get there, I'm going to know that there's going to be a set of problems that we need to solve. I don't know what those problems are, but I know that they're solvable. And so long as that space, that's the direction I'm always going to move into. I believe that there's like three things in life that we all focus on, right? And that's like our finances, that's our health, and that's our mind. But most people are stuck on the finances.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They spend all of it, and I still do. I spend a great deal of my time, accumulating, money. But here's what I know. That can be solved. I can earn enough money where I don't have to earn enough money. There's no amount of learning that I could have where I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like that doesn't exist. The more you know you don't know. And then you're just on this forever pursuit of just self-education, self-knowledge. Same thing with health. Like there's no such thing as perfect. There's always, you age. So as you age, your body's literally dying. So it's like you're doing, by just understanding how your body works just a little bit more, I get to be 43 and not have a wrinkle on my face.
I think it's important. That's like, it's like you're setting those targets in your financial life or your health life that, know that bring happiness to you. Because I think if you don't do that, then you get stuck in that circle of knowledge where you learn more and you just want to know more. And you haven't set like a point where you're going to say, hey, okay, this is enough for me. And, maybe when I get there, I might decide it's still not enough for me. And maybe I do want more, but, at least you're aware of that decision.
Yeah.
I think as you get older, especially like that, the habits that you are building, start to drive you even more compared to being young when you're a little more curious and, what if this, what if that? Whereas you get into your 30s and you're busy, like, I feel like in my life, habits have kind of, they're steering more of my decisions during the day versus when I was a kid.
Everything. I mean, it's all a habit. Like that.
You got to build those right, those right habits.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not easy. I struggle with that daily, but I know I'll be able to do better when I wake up one day and that day is like, I don't have to even earn $1 because it's already solved for me, and I'm hoping that's going to be within the next 2 to 3 years. I have a goal of $20 million. That's my goal. Nowhere near that. I'm in the 7-figure range, but nowhere near an 8-figure range. And for me, that was a goal that I was always never comfortable talking about, because it's like it's a big deal to some individuals when they, there's some people in this world that work their whole life and not even accumulate $1 million. And for me, I still don't feel that that's even a big ask. When you think of like all the amount of money and all the potential and all the people that are out there and the billions and the trillions that are out there, I could have $100 million and nobody would know who the hell I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know.
200 million. Nobody knows why. There's, and it's like, so when you start setting a goal enough, like an actual goal, and you are dead set on that, one of two things are going to happen. You're going to achieve that goal, or you're going to die trying to achieve the goal. Like, that's it.
Or give up, right?
Yeah. Well, if you quit, and that's why I even said, like, quitting. I think people misunderstand what quitting is, right? Like, so let's say for instance that I want to have good health, right? Like right now I'm about 15 pounds overweight. Yeah, you know what I mean? So, and I have bad ADHD. So like sticking to any one thing is a very difficult thing for me to do. I'll do one thing and then I do it for like 2 weeks and I'll stop and start something different. But what's happening is, even though I'm starting and stopping, when I'm still always moving it forward. You know what I mean? Like the goal of optimal health still hasn't changed, even though, so every process I take, it still is hopefully that makes like a degree of sense, where it's like, so I think when I stop something, I don't feel that that's quitting.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
You know what I mean?
I think it boils down to like a few things that drive a lot of humans that you've kind of touched on. And like that one for me, I would boil it down to guilt, right? Like people feel guilty for quitting. Yeah. Right? I think that's an element that every human can identify with. And, when you just say, hey, I'm going to quit because it didn't work out for me, or, I gave it my best shot and now I'm going to try this. As long as in your head, like you're confident that like that's your truth and you've owning it, I think the damage starts to happen when you lie to yourself on a regular basis, right? Like you tell yourself this bullshit story and it's bullshit. Like, and that, and for me, like I'm, reflecting on some of the things I've been through, like, that's really what was leading me to make all these poor decisions. Like I'm okay with making a bad decision, right? Like at least I'm making a decision. But if I know there's something else out there that I should have done and I didn't do it for some stupid reason, and like in the moment where you just get drawn into something else because it's pulling on some other human element that just drags you into it, and you're like, oh shit, you're in love with some chick and you make a bad decision because you were in love, or you've got 20 grand invested in a product and things go wrong and you should quit, but you should just quit. But man, I've got 20 grand invested in this product and I'm going to make it work and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Right. And you get all egotistical about it. And, then you're 10 grand in debt, 10 grand more in debt before you quit.
There's it's the word quit, right? That's the big word. I'm gonna lay out two scenarios, and I'm gonna just give you the answer so we don't have to play that game. But there was a poll that was done on individuals that if you were guaranteed, you had option A, option B. Option A is you're guaranteed to make $3,000, or B is you have an 80% chance of making $4,000, 20% chance of making nothing. Most respondents picked A. They wanted the sure thing, absolutely, without question. It made sense to them. Yeah. Now, when the second scenario, flip it, and this is where it gets really interesting. If you had option A, 100% chance to lose $3,000, or an 80% chance to lose $4,000 and a 20% chance of breaking even, most people took option B. So they're willing to, even though like point is that you need to know when to cut your losses. Yeah. That's not quitting. That's not failure. I mean, it's failure. It's failure. But you have to know, like, okay, this is where it ends, and this is where now I need to go, or else you're gonna, on that. I always, like in the trading world, I always talk about like hope isn't a strategy. You know what I mean? Like it's not like you can't just launch a product. I've seen that. How many times have we seen that? Like,
oh yeah.
Like rock stars. I was in this group that I built it up with this Chaz to like 50 some thousand people. Not everybody was active, But
Yeah, I remember that. You guys had like a cruise and everything.
yeah,
Doing,
yeah, there's a lot of people. And the reality is they all had the same knowledge for the most part. I mean, every Monday I'd sit there talking for hours, just freely giving this information out. And yet so few people actually ever, like did anything, because it's more than just knowing something isn't enough. Like it's not like, you can know a lot of things, but there's a lot of smart people that don't accomplish in their lives, and I give way more credit to somebody that I give way more credit to somebody that tries and fails than the person that is afraid to even try. Like when people said, like, there are people that just won't do New Year's resolutions because most people quit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's dumb. You should at least make a good positive decision, even if you know that you were going to fail.
Yeah.
You knew that you were going to last. Like I did. I didn't last. I got COVID, but that was a nice excuse.
Yeah.
That was a nice excuse. We had a January, whatever. And, it's a justifiable excuse, but why after COVID did I not get right back on it?
Right.
You know what I mean? But I did learn my lessons and, and all this other stuff, to keep pushing things up.
Did you always have that idea of around failure, like, growing up as a kid and stuff? Did you kind of fear failure more than?
I was built myself. I don't know how to say that.
I can relate to that 100%, man. Where I was broken down to nothing and
I
start over.
I came from nothing. I have no college degree.
Yeah.
Yet I'm probably one of the smartest guys I know. You know what I mean? I'm a dumb, stupid, but like in terms of the amount of things that I know, and what it is I've always, anything I wanted to know, I would become obsessed about. And I would have to know everything that there was to know about. And I did that even at a really early age, like I remember, I was like 12 years old or 10 or something really young. Just, I look at my kids and they're 13 and they'll never do this. And, there was a kid that came by knocking on the door and he was trying to sell my mom like candies and cards. And like that cat, I'm like, what? I was like, I kept asking like, what was he doing? Why was he selling that? What was going on? It's church or whatever. And then I'm like, I bet I could do that. I was like, for me though, like, why do I got to do it for like, just do it for me. So there was a company called Olympia Sales and they gave you this little catalog. And then for every sale, you got like $2. I can't remember. It was something now. And I went door to door at age 12, like knocking on all my neighbors' doors. And like, I did, I made like $100 or something like that. I got to tell you, I was terrified.
Yeah.
Freaking.
I tell you what, if you're afraid of rejection, go get a sales job.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I think
go get a sales job, do it for a few weeks. You'll get over that.
I became a financial advisor. I was always good at I was always presentable, for the most part. And I always used my words to my advantage, so I ended up, I got a job. I got a job as a financial advisor. And what did you just say? Because I was going somewhere with the fear.
Yeah.
So I had my natural market, but at the time I was a stand-up comedian. I was selling cell phones at Verizon. So my natural market were not people that you're going to be making any kind of money with. So I realized that the money to be made was talking to individuals that made over $100,000 a year, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody that did that. So I found this Rolodex of people that worked at Kohl's department store, and I found out that if you called their number, it would say, type in the name of the person, it would ring their desk, and then there was LinkedIn. So then I would start cold calling, and I was scared out of my mind. So I used to go across the street to this bar, I think it was called McGillicuddy's or something like that, some Irish bar, and I would get like 2-3 shots of vodka, like in a short succession period of time. And I would go back, feeling a little loose, and I'll drill out these calls. And I remember telling myself, if I can get to 100 calls, if I can just get to 100 calls, I'll never be afraid of it ever again. And so I was terrified. I was freaking out. I couldn't sleep on the weekends. And that chiseled me really. I went to I was in the military. I went through boot camp, and I remember, like, I was in an era where drill sergeants would push you and hit you, and just that you couldn't even do anymore, screaming, saying the most profane in your face. And then I remember I came back, when I came out, I came back and I was working at this cafeteria, and there was this old Italian guy that was barking at all these kids, and they're all afraid of him. And I'm like, this guy ain't nothing. Like, Jim, they're afraid of this guy. You know what I mean? And people allow their fear to prevent them from just becoming greater. I remember, I think there's even a book on it, and I never read it, but the enemy called average. Like me and my ex-wife like differ on that dramatically, right? So like anytime, like my kid wants to get in an acting class, so like right away I'm like, great, you want to act? Cool, I can manage that stuff. I can get you some auditions. I'll tell you what, when you're like 17, 18 and you need an apartment, I'll take care of the apartment. I'll take care of your basic necessities, provided that you do auditions, because acting ain't being in the movies. Acting is all about the auditions. And then my ex-wife, nice lady, but she's very average, so like she's like, whoa, let's bring it down. I'm like, why bring anything down? Why? Like, if you're gonna do anything, why not at least attempt to be great at it? And then you get to figure out like what your actual natural talents are. And I'm convinced every single person has this natural talent of something that they could be amazing at, and they won't even hone that skill set because basic just fear, man. And so people look at like people say, well, you're not afraid, and I'm like, yeah, I am. Like, I'm constantly intimidated. I'm constantly uncomfortable. I'm just so used to it. Like, if I have to have I had a partner where I felt like he was making some bad decisions. And I recognized that I wasn't talking to him like I needed to talk to him. So I read this book called Honest to Greatness. And I was like, I got to be honest with this guy. This is actually like 2 weeks ago. So I'm hiking. And this is where I knew the universe wanted me to talk to him, because I was going to call him on my phone when I was taking a hike. And I decided against it. But as I was putting my phone in my pocket, my thumb hit the call. So I call, and I was like, hey person, I'm going to be real with you. I was like, I need to talk to you like an entrepreneur, and I can't. And it's holding us back because I'm not being forthright with you and the decisions that you're making, while you think are good. And that's the thing. When you're achieving something, everybody looks at things vanilla, right or wrong, right or wrong. Is my ex-wife wrong for wanting my child to be average? Can you actually say that that's wrong when she provides for them, cares for them, works for them, loves them? Is that wrong? No, it's not wrong. It's just a totally different perspective of how I view the world and how I want to achieve that. And the scariest thing for me is like dying. I don't want to die not having made an attempt to be my best. I just don't.
Yeah.
That scares the living shit out of me. And I feel like I've not reached everything that I needed to reach. But if I died today, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
But if I died today, like, I'm not mad at myself. You know what I mean? Remember, you're this kid that literally went from homeless shelters to like living on every floor in my house, I see the ocean. You know what I mean? Like, I live a pretty amazing lifestyle, and because I'm in an association where everybody's, you forget, and I don't know, man. I'm like,
I think I think you're touching on some really great stuff, man, and like rejection and fear, and like it's all there, and like right and and then the idea of right and wrong. It's like the way that we're taught about those things as we're growing up doesn't really support us if I guess some people would put a label on it if you have ADHD, right? Like I'm diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah,
You mentioned ADHD, and if you study the characteristics of it, you chase new things, right? You get tired of things quickly. The things that you enjoy, you're able to really focus on, and you might get obsessed with them for weeks or months or even a year, years. Maybe it never goes away.
Yeah.
Right. And there's some interesting stuff you can learn about these things. Like the Andrew Huberman podcast is great. And he like talks about dopamine, right? And like, that's what's actually going on in our minds. And that, you study ADHD and you learn that the dopamine communicates differently. Right. And when we're growing up, we were taught that was, what was it called? Because it used to be ADD, attention deficit disorder. So it was negative because it had the word deficit in there. Now it's ADHD, attention
deficit hyperactive disorder.
Something like that. I know they changed it to like not sound as negative or something like that. But, all the things that you've mentioned, it's just what we want, right? It's just what we're chasing. It's what we want in our lives. And then you have these people who don't have this condition that are like, no, they're like, no, get back down here with us. You need to be,
because it's contradictory to semblance of normal society, right? Like society was created. There's rules that then created the framework, the code, I guess you would call it, of society. And somebody with ADD, entrepreneur, we are natural contrarians, like natural. And I question everything. That doesn't mean I'm like some grand conspiracy theorist or anything like that. I just recognize that humans are humans. Like the more I see people of success, the more I'm like, that guy's a too. It's almost like liberating. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, I'm not insulting it because I'm a fucking idiot. I'm like, wow, that guy's a, and to me, that's like, okay. The difference between me and you now is time. It's just time.
Yes. Yeah.
Time passing. The decision's already been made. I'm in that direction now. It's time passing. And
man, if we could how could we? Because Shawn, you weren't always here, right? Like you struggled a little bit. Like I'm thinking, how can we package this for someone who's struggling? It's probably something they've heard a million times, but right? Like I mean, how were you when you were growing up? I have money. Were you always like this?
No, man, I was just talking to my mom about that, because my mom travels the world and all that other stuff. But she was poor, man. Like, and if I told my story, dude, there would be a day, people watch, The Pursuit of Happiness, and they're like, wow, that guy really came, dude, I can't, man. My dad's a criminal. I have a criminal father. I have murderers in my family, it's just, it's outrageous. But then all of that has built my framework in terms of relationships with people, value. Just because you have a title, that doesn't mean boss. What's boss to me?
Yeah.
I remember my kid was getting bullied at school, so I go to the school.
I remember this.
I lit it up. And so I go to the school, and they didn't know who I was. You know what I mean? I was always just casual. I'm not going to be talking with these Catholic school moms about bake sales and that. So I was just sitting there at the time. I was always representing the D-bag life with my hat and my hoodie. And, I was just like this mysterious guy. And I show up and they're talking dean of students. And I was like, you keep saying these things like it means something. I'm the father of a child that trumps all of this.
Yes.
It trumps all of it. And there's so many people that try to compartmentalize all of these aspects of their life to try to create some type of normalcy, I guess around it. And here we are as entrepreneurs where it's like, you see something, and because you see the goal of how you can get there, you recognize how poorly the process has been made for you to be able to achieve that.
Yeah.
Flat out, not everybody gets to be middle class. There's, I know that they always say that there's enough resources on the planet. Yeah, there's enough resources on the planet to feed people. There's enough resources on the planet to keep food over your head. There's not enough coastal land that everybody gets to live on oceanfront property. There's not enough batteries out there where everybody gets to own 2 cars or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. There's just not enough. So of those resources that are available, how does that get divvied up? But by those that actually pursue it, and so few. So I get criticized a lot because I have a block list on Facebook of probably 3,000-4,000 people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I remember one time I was just showing my block list one time and I was just scrolling and I kept going because it's like, for me, people will criticize me, right? They'll be like, oh, you just only want people around you that agree with you. Yeah, I do. You just, we all live in a bubble. All of us. We all live in this bubble. So why wouldn't I live in a bubble of like-minded people, provided that I'm happy, they're happy, we're all growing together? Yeah. Why do I have to care about what your perspective is on anything that's not aligned with me? I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I think all of that is ridiculous because it's something that's like being fed to us, and that doesn't.
Yeah, and it was created, right? I mean, I actually agree. Like, I'm not a political individual, and
it's not. And people will, because there's a sense of identity and the sense of value.
Yeah.
And because, like, back in the day, I'm old enough to remember a world that was before the internet. And at that time, when I was a kid, 10, 15, 20 years old, I didn't get the internet until I was like 21, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So I've only had like 20 years of the internet. That you only hung around the people that's your clique was literally people that aligned with you, agreed with you. You all shared the same thoughts. But as we've started, the internet started exposing so many different ideals. There's this idea that I have to accept everybody else's thoughts, and it's like, I let people be how they want to be, but I still get to think being a tranny is weird. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't have a bathroom and a rights and all this other stuff. And even saying tranny is like a really weird thing, and maybe I should say transsexual or whatever. But like, I get to be ignorant of the things that don't really matter to me if it's not even something that's in my normal environment. Now, that said, since we're all getting all controversial, the universe had like, I got gay kids. I was a lesbian daughter and an omnisexual daughter. I didn't even know what the hell that was. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna be real I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
You love whoever the hell you want to love. Thank you actually for being lesbians, by the way, because now I have to worry about all the of the world. You know what I mean? But I was like, sometimes daddy says some stupid like, hey, that's gay. And when I say that, I don't mean it that way. I don't know. I'm going on some stupid tangent now.
No, I mean, in my opinion, it's like, I feel like it's stuff that everyone is dealing with. And then so many of us put on the facade of,
oh, it's all
right. But instead you could just be authentic. And be like, oh, you know what? I think it's freaking weird, but like, hey, you're cold. Oh, you need my shirt? Here you go. Oh, like, here's my jacket off my back. But right, like it's that it can be like that, and I think that's a message that you don't hear growing up is like, hey, you're allowed to think something, and that's okay. And just because you thought that doesn't mean you have to act on it, right? Like, you don't have to be hateful about it.
Hate is hate to, like, I don't hate anybody. There's people I don't like, but but it's, for me, it's going back to the blocking thing. It's really easy to just remove them from my life.
Yeah.
Especially on the internet, which is mind boggling to me that, like, that nobody promotes self-censorship ever. It's always like, so Facebook is a platform where if you don't like something, it's like really easy. You just block. You just
and
then you never have to see it again. You never have to. You get to literally remove somebody from your life. And then, like, VR's coming out now. Now I'm going.
Yeah.
VR's coming out. Like, the first week of VR, some lady was like, "I was gang raped," and I'm like, "Come on!" Like, I'm telling you right now, Nick, if you are gang raped in virtual reality, my friend, you wanted to be gang raped. You wanted. At any point, you could have just picked up the visor, but like, or in VR, like, I don't know if you've ever been in like VR.
I've been on one. Yeah, I've been on it a couple times.
Like, I remember there was like,
Yeah, okay.
there was this annoying kid, I was playing virtual poker, and this kid's just, it just,
Nice.
instant gone. It's like, and it can
Wow.
work, because then the thing is, like, there's the fear of loss. Well, what happens if, like, there's so many, there are how many billions of people that are on this planet?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to like all of them? We're all going to work for me in my favor to help me achieve what it is I want, or what, I'm going to help them achieve what they want. No, man. I only have so many people. Dude, I used to have a friends list of 5,000 individuals. And that was an insane amount of people for one person to have. Like, it's unnatural that more people know you than you know them. Because, I'll go around and people to this day, like, they'll, my inbox still gets hit up, and it's like, I don't know these individuals, and it's like, so where's my time best spent? And I had spent a good deal, because I came from nothing, and I was always wanting to put myself in a position where I was creating a platform for other people to follow. You know what I mean? Where I would always talk about, like, scale buildings and not mountains, because like a mountain, there's just few on top, but a building, you get to the top of the building, you can fit hundreds of people on top of the building. Problem is, that I found that some people want to get to the top, but they want you to take them. They're not really willing to grow. And so Clint, NMDS, he shared a story with me that I'm going to share with you, that Michael Quinn had shared with him, that another guy had shared with him. And this was like one of those conversations that was like a pivotal decision, a pivotal point. It literally changed my life. I told him, I'm like, there's points in my life where I could say this changed my life. This conversation was one of them. And so he had said that there's a lighthouse, and this is the story of the lighthouse and the tugboat, right? The lighthouse and the tugboat, they both serve the same purpose in terms of, like, getting ships to their destination. But how they go about it is incredibly different. Like, when a tugboat goes out and it gets the ships that can't do it for whatever reason, that quit along the way, or too broken or beaten up, or whatever the case might be, and it sits there and drags them through the ice or the mud or whatever it is to be able to bring them back on shore. And then it's got to go back and do it again and do it again and do it again. And tugboats, when you think of a tugboat, you don't think prestige. You don't think, beaten up, weary, just defeated. And man, my blood pressure is through the roof. Everybody's problems were my problems, because I'm trying to help everybody, and they can't get there on their own, So the lighthouse shines its light brightly, and it's like, hey, here I am. Here's the destination. Here's where you want to be. Figure out how to get here. Here's where I am, and here's that bright light. And the boats that are able can make it. And if your boat can't make it, get your life preserver out and swim. Do whatever you need to do. At least you know the destination, and you're not just sitting there waiting for someone to come save you. And I had realized that, like, in the process of what I was doing, I was bringing people, they became anchors in my life, significant anchors. And it had cost me a great deal of time and money. Considering the amount of people that I have coached and helped that have become successful I've coached thousands, maybe. It's really hard to quantify. I'm not no Tony Robbins or anything, but in this ecosphere, I've helped thousands of people, and only like 7 to maybe top 20 maybe became anything of it, where they actually did something and they came back. And what's funny about that is I always tell them, like, it wasn't me. You came with the right question.
Right. Yeah.
And that was a big thing for me. Like, if you remember, I used to piss a lot of people off because I'd be like, ask a better question.
Yeah. That was your thing.
I was like, ask a better question. And it's a kind of a dick thing to say, but at the same time, for me, that was
the truth. Yeah.
It's like the in somebody, like, I know when I'm talking to somebody now, I've seen enough. I know, I don't care how bad they want it. I know how well that they're willing to succeed simply based on how the questions that they ask, because the questions that they ask is indicative of how their mind works and processes and solves problems,
and the effort that they've put in already before.
Yeah. Yes. And that's, yeah. So like for me, like I no longer do it. I no longer will. Yeah, I just remember I just got a message from somebody like maybe a couple of weeks ago. They're like, "Hey, Shawn, can you help me pick out a product?" And I'm like, do you realize how much I have to rewind to get down to like picking a product? You know, that's the most like, you know what I mean? Like I can't. That's not a good use of my time anymore.
Right.
Like not even remotely. You know,
I think it's like it's indicative of how you've been able to like adapt in order to get the things that you want in your life. And if you look, like even since I've known you, I've seen that change from, starting out in reselling and then teaching, and then, now where you are now in Puerto Rico, like, and you've even physically made a big change as well.
Yeah.
Like you're doing it, man. And I think there's a lot of elements that, it's done, right? You're done and you're living.
No, it's not. It's not done. I still.
Okay.
But yeah. I appreciate the benchmark of where I'm at.
Yeah. And that's it's where isn't that where everyone wants to be? And deep down, like, and I think there is a checklist of getting there. And I do think any human being that is born in a normal condition, even if not, like, they can achieve these things, and it's not taught out there. And sometimes you just have to go for it, man, and surround yourself with the right people.
You had mentioned that is there a framework, right? And I'm not saying I have the framework, but I believe I have a variant of the framework that works. I used to talk about this. We call it mindset. Me and Becky call it mindset ROI. And it's the process, because a lot of times people think that it's the knowledge. If you get a lot of knowledge, that it's gonna solve all your problems, and it doesn't, right? Then there's people that think if they put in all the work, it's gonna solve all their problems, and neither one of them does it. It's your thought process. It's the thought process of what problem are you solving the most? What problem are you at? So like, let's say for instance that you get like a series of negative reviews. There's gonna be some sellers that will take the time to try to reach out to these buyers, swindle them in some way to changing their review from like a 1-star to a 5-star. Or you could recognize the root problem is maybe your product is shit. You know what I mean? And maybe it's going to cost you some more time, energy, and effort to solve that root problem. But now you're scaling a business that's dramatically more efficient.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I'm doing anything in life, I'm always trying to figure out what problem is it that I'm really trying to solve. And that's actually helped me even in my relationships with my partners, Becky, because we have, relationships, when you're like in a relationship with somebody, you're gonna, there's gonna be times where words aren't nice to each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for me, we had made a decision that we would, and this is really true of any of when I'm just thinking in terms of my personal relationship, that if we're not fighting for the same thing, it's not even worth fighting. Like if I'm fighting this way and you're fighting that way, there will never be a crossroads that we're going to connect on, and it's literally not even worth us fighting. So now we hardly fight. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because we have disagreements, but at least then when we're fighting towards the same thing, you know what I mean? It's like we're going to crossroads where I'm like, okay, we're good. We're good now.
Yeah, it's good if you're going the same direction, right? You just might have a disagreement on how to get there.
Yeah, and that's picking the right people in your life is such an underutilized. It's undervalued of how important it is to have really good people. And like I'm telling you, if for anybody listening to this, watching this, assess every single relationship that you have in your life. And if today you would not be friends with that person, then you should not be friends with that person. Simple as that. Just for me, I would unfriend them on Facebook and see how I felt about it a week later.
Yeah.
Because I can always re-add them. And and chiseling out a really good network has been super beneficial to my just growth, my happiness, my journey. My brain is not bogged down with things that are entirely irrelevant to me. And I try to get rid of it, because right now Russia's doing whatever with Ukraine. And so this morning I'm all riled up about it. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why? There's so many other things that are going on this planet that, like, right now there's somebody that's like, I'm going to do the sob story, but there's somebody right now dying of, like, this is their last day on the planet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How much does Russia and Ukraine have any value to somebody whose last day on the planet is today? And if it's not important to them, why is it important to me? Well, you know what? That person, that last day on the planet, I bet you the loves that they have in their life, the memories that they have, those are the things that really matter. If that matters to that person, their last day on this planet, that's things that should matter to me today, because today could be my last day on this planet. And I it's a fight, but it's like, it's a thing that I constantly try to bring my myself back to. I'm evolving. I've accepted that I'm not the same man that I was yesterday. I'm not who I was 5 years ago. I'm not who I was 10 years ago. And I look forward to, like, seeing who I continue to become, because I think I'm a really good dude at the end.
Yeah.
Misunderstood a lot of times. I'm crude. I'm a dick, and I have all these bad things, but I'm all these amazing things that at the end of the day, we all are, man. Like, we all just play this character of how we want to be perceived in life. And nobody really will ever know you. Nobody. And so I do my best to just try to leave it out. You know what I mean? Like, just try to give, like, this is how I talk to you, is how I talk to my mom. So I talk to my kids. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, what are you doing? That's stuff. Yeah. It's like, like, cool, did you swear in front of your kids? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
When we're 18, they can say whatever the they want. But till then, but it's so there's, I think that's what at the end of the day is what people are, that's my brand of charisma.
Yeah, people appreciate that.
Yeah, like, at least even though I might not agree with Shawn, because I'm not right some of the time.
And that's what, honestly, like, that's what people need. You just got to get comfortable. Like, in my opinion, rejection is a qualification, right? Like, oh, you reject me? Great. Yep. We're not going to get along. Okay.
It makes it easier. And there's people I don't like, and they don't like me, but it's not a negative thing. It's just like,
it's just life, right? It's life.
It's how it is. Everyone's gonna like me. I'm not gonna like you.
So, Shawn, it's been so cool to watch your journey, and just to be a part of it. Fun fact, you referred me to MDS, so back when I got in. So yeah, man, it's just been great. I appreciate, like, being a part of your journey in this way. Like, it's been amazing to watch, and it's so cool to see you move down to Puerto Rico and just.
You gotta come down, man.
Down there. I'll be down. I'll be down.
Everybody.
Yeah.
It's not Puerto Rico. No, I'll wrap this up. It's not Puerto Rico per se.
Yeah.
The thing that really gets me is the community of individuals that I'm literally surrounded in 24 hours a day. And everybody needs that in their life. And everyone else that's not a part of that, you don't need them. They got their own journey, they got their own success, and hopefully they achieve whatever it is that they want. But if it's not in line with where I'm going.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where it's like, it's sad. It's kind of like fear, right? It's like, oh man, you're looking back on this life that you've lived, and it's sad because you care about these people and things, but you have your life to live. Maybe you have a family and other people to consider, and a goal and a vision. And, you need to be around people that push you closer to that goal and not hold you back from it.
Absolutely.
At some point you just have to make that decision, man. It's tough, but if you don't make the decision will be made for you in one way or another.
Ain't that
you got to make it.
Yeah. That is the truth.
Shawn, you are the man. I wish we had more time just to hang out and kick it. We definitely got to get up more calls, do whatever, man. I love hanging out with you.
Like a
Chat with you.
thing, anyways. Just if it's been too long, remember when we did the smoke session?
Yes.
Let's go again.
Yes.
Let's do it again. Let's do it out.
Let's do it.
Do it.
Yes. All right. Sounds good, man. I always do it in the evening anyways. All right, man. Good seeing you.
Okay, take care.